onto the rift here to see who is going to be advancing forward first out of G2 and FlyQuest. Of course, with an extra life in the tank. And so we're not going to be saying goodbye to anyone just yet. But being able to promote this early is going to feel absolutely fantastic. Joining Humble Life Esports, who have already made their way up there with their last victory. As Caps just go on base skin on the Annie, which I find quite interesting because Annie has so many skins. It's kind of ridiculous. Reverse Annie being probably one of the best in the game. It's just so cute.
I like the base skin. I don't know what it is. I guess it's because when I first started playing League of Legends, I didn't have any skins, and I liked playing Annie back then. So
in Season 1, Annie was my most played.
Very fun chat. Broken Blade going to do a little bit of a wraparound here, but I don't think FlyQuest will get punished.
Yeah, this is very interesting, actually, as Cap's going to be moving forward. Finds a little bit of an auto attack, but otherwise not too much more. They do manage to do infinitely more damage to Fly than they took in return.
That is true.
So there's that. That's an Atlas useless stat for you, everyone. You can have that for free.
We'll see a control of the bottom side brush from Masu and Lucio as Broken Blade is continuing to try to fish for these harpoons. We'll finally land a second one there. But let's see what happens with this level 1. Masu and I hit that first shot, and I guess it won't really matter. But sometimes you get in that brush, and things change in the lane.
Yeah, and this I feel could actually just go really G2 favored. It's not exactly the most power. Of course, Jhin in lane is actually pretty strong, but level 1 Alistar is probably not what you want if you want to go toe-to-toe in that 2v2. As Quad and Caps fighting once again. I feel like this is such great news for Quad, though. His Azir was so good in the last game, and he just gets to continue on down that same track. We'll see how he's going to do against Caps instead. Of course, different opposition. As I don't even... Did Quad and Loki even play against one another at all?
Yeah.
I know that, when Quad was Sulker, he did spend some time down in Challenger.
I think they just missed each other. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think they missed each other by a year. As Loki was a bit of a later come up there on Hanwha Life. As down here in this bottom lane, like you said, the Alistar level 1 a little bit weak. LeBrop's doing some great sustain. Bit of a trade happens here. Also going to get that bouncing grenade. I'm curious how this early game plays out for the side of G2, because the big difference between picking something like a Draven that we were potentially hyped to see for Hansama, especially because he's so famed for it, versus the Xayah is the Draven can fight early. Once everyone hits level 6, you can look for that early cash, and you can explode early and try to punish some of the scaling elements here of FlyQuest. But now with the Xayah, you're a little bit slower. Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, Bwipo just going to be emoting after he stuns that minion. That being said, that minion was very surprised about what was going on, but Broken Blade going to be able to find the harpoon here and not going to quite silence himself just yet, but managing the heat really beautifully, and Bwipo is just not allowed to head towards this minion wave.
Yeah, that's really well played by Broken Blade to punish the failed stun there, unfortunately for Bwipo. Knows he probably got caught on cam with that one. It happens.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen, but it does happen to the best.
He did counteract it, though, with the emote very nicely as the double fold comes down here towards the bottom side. The Blade Caller not quite connecting onto Masu, but the heal is still going to have to be employed here by the Fly bottom lane as G2 fighting this one pretty aggressively. Broken Blade continuing to try and keep the pressure up as in goes Bwipo. This time he's going to be able to find the stun. Permafrost coming down as well. I think Broken Blade is going to be absolutely fine, but still down to 200 health, might be teleporting early.
That does relieve a lot of the pressure, though, of Bwipo's lane there that was looking like it was going to be frozen in a really tough spot. He's able to break the freeze here, and Skewmond is lurking. It's not going to commit any further here. It does get that control ward up, but
a lot of vision that Bwipo is going to be dealing with here towards the top side.
A lot of the early game between these squads has been a little bit of hands checking, a little bit of aggression on both sides. But if you look at the gold lead, I mean, it's 0-0, right? We don't have any big plates going down or anything like that, but it's a pretty significant lane lead across the board here for G2. Caps has a significant one in mid lane. You can see that, Broken Blade was able to stem the bleeding there with the attempt from Inspired. He's just chilling, had a massive lead, had denied a ton of farm from Bwipo. And these small advantages do stack up.
Yep. We got a bit of a lane swap coming on through here. As Meteos was talking about before, sometimes there's like a million different reasons as to why you swap, but when in doubt, swap is kind of what I got from it. And that is what G2 is going to do. The Dragon is going to be spawning here, just a lone Chemtech to start us off. is going to mean that that adds a little bit more power to the potential souls that we're going to see in this game. Only one Chemtech soul so far today is absolutely fine. Good work there, Orcs. Thank you for not inundating us with too many of those. As Busio coming on over, saying yeehaw in the mid lane because of the cowboy skin. So many times it is just the cowbell.
Yeah.
Right? Because like that skin is so cool. I mean, there's also like the war one that you know, Lehens and Beryl like to use, but we don't see the cowboy quite as much, and that was an old favorite. So I'm glad that we're bringing it back. Thanks, Busio.
Whippo trying to bait here is successful.
Yeah, Equalizer goes in. Inspired coming down, but Skewmont is in position. And it looks like neither team wanting to fight. It's a gentleman's agreement. Just a bit of a thumbs up there. And now Caps moving forward, finds a speed up with the Molten Shield. Once again, the answer is going to be there. And there's the Emperor's Divide. Caps electing not to use the flash yet. And there's not quite enough damage on the table, so it doesn't actually have to at all. A 2v2 here. Annie and Tibbers versus Quad and his cow.
Am I crazy? Busio not headbutt there? I thought he was going to headbutt Caps back in. Maybe I missed it.
He
but
did. Oh, maybe he like got caught on minions or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe he used it to get in.
Maybe he did use it to get on the pole, and I just missed it. But either way,
going for a bit of a dive here as the Blade Call is so good from Hansama, but the Flash still going to try and get him out of there. I just don't think it's going to quite work. The heal is going to come on through. Masu thought he could find it with the fourth shot, as the Q is going to be enough. And first blood over to the Xayah feels fantastic for G2.
Oh man, he thought he had the damage there on that fourth shot. I mean, that's all you have to hope for, right? He was able to just heal up barely with that pot to survive long enough to look for it, but this early in the game, he just did not have the damage there. Ultimately does die, using his summoner spells to try to trade one back. That's a huge lead that Hansama already has, you know, in terms of the AD carries, and with him dying there, that lead will continue to grow. As it's the laning leads I mentioned earlier that continue to snowball here. It was 500 gold, and now with that kill going over, it's 1,500 gold here at just below 7.5 minutes in, as still looking for that kill onto Caps. Yeah, and he's just going to ride out the storm.
Yep, cute little headbutt pulve there from Busio. We've got some Portal combat here. Quad going to come on over and get that control ward down. They're just trying to stem the bleeding as much as possible, but G2 are doing a great job keeping up this level of pressure as we check this out once again.
Yeah, he's trying to ghost his way away and gets knocked up here. The turret does a ton of damage, but the Rakan is so mobile. Masu has that potion chugging through the Ignite just barely, and is going to...
I think Lebrov would have died without the heal as well. It was pretty fancy.
Masu wants to go in and get that fourth shot, but like you said, the heal is required. Very close, but not enough. Void grubs are going to spawn here as G2 look to take these out. They have so much control over this map right now. Caps is unable to join, but I just don't think there's enough FlyQuest here to deny.
Yeah, a bit of battle in the mid lane just to try and bully Quad away, but you can see FlyQuest still going to look for it. Masu coming down. He does have access to that curtain call like you were talking about, and Quad has the inside track, finds the Emperor's Divide as well, but Broken Blade has made his way over. The flash out from Quad, but the harpoons are going to land, and he is in so much trouble, not able to shift the sands, and cool guys don't look at explosions as G2 grabs their second kill of the game.
And they get all the grubs as well on the top side of that fight. Caps is even going to pick up an extra plate for his trouble, and the lead here is just exploding for G2. Hold up though.
Yeah, this could be one as they layer the CC real nicely. Lebrov's still able to get himself out though, and Hansama is free hitting. Inspired can't do anything. There's the feats of warfare, and G2, I think they took that 3-0 at MSI pretty seriously.
Yeah,
and personally, as you could understand,
they really look like they are ready for revenge. Here's Lebrov will once again avoid death here, getting away from that curtain call. Hansama's hit by the last one there.
There's the flash forward. Does have the Featherstorm available, as now Busio might find himself overextended because Skewmon going to give him the good old depth thumbs up, and down goes the cow. And his beefsteak now is 4-0 for G2. This is turning into a shellacking.
I mean, we're starting to talk about a nearly insurmountable gold lead here at 9.5 minutes. With the snowball that is really rolling down the hill here. We talked about how for the composition of FlyQuest here, they need to stem the bleeding early. They need to make sure they get through the early game so that Azir can be relevant later on, and they can play that game of just outranging. Broken Blade may be a casualty here, though, in the bottom side.
Yeah, I think he may die. Some Alcove Gaming is not going to save him there, and he is just going to get taken out. Deals with the minion wave, so I guess there's that, as the rest of G2 are making their way down. Still, FlyQuest are now on the board.
Certainly are. I just don't know if it's enough, especially if Blippo ends up dying in return.
He has flash, doesn't have ult. He's going to flash, try and get himself out, but he's caught with the last bit of the knock-up here as the heal going to be utilized. Out goes Labrov, and Blippo will be absolutely fine. By absolutely, I mean he's just going to live. And he's looking a little worse for wear. Still,
I mean, he didn't die, so I mean, absolutely not dead.
Yeah, absolutely alive, very alive. Is Labrov not as alive as it turns out? Busio is going to be able to grab that one with a trample. And as we were singing the praises and saying words like insurmountable, the surmounting begins.
Yeah, well, it's a bit messy down there as a commitment on the Blippo does fail. He flashes to get the slice and dice away, and then they stick around just a little bit too long there. Labrov ends up being the one who bites the bullet there. As you can see, the gold difference over time by S&B here, it does shrink quite substantially. You know, we were looking at a 3,000, now we're looking at just a 1,500 here, so basically cutting it in half. That said, still a great position here for G2.
Yep.
And, I mean, we're moving into this mid-game where Hansama has a very, very strong position. They still have the point-click CC with the buys.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, the rest of FlyQuest are moving up. As we can see, Broken Blade in so much trouble. The Glacial Prison goes down. Not even close, says Blippo, as he just cuts him up.
And I don't think they can cross-map, unfortunately. Masu is very well aware of the fact that since nobody was helping out topside there, he might be the next target. Is just going to let this wave crash into the turret and say, I'm not going to lose my life for this.
I mean, do you know what? I can feel Meteos backstage just like stroking his beard. He's like, no, it was never that G2 favored. Don't worry about it, guys.
It certainly, you know, is the lead is shrinking
just a little bit.
Sure.
As Busio now, with that Unbreakable Will, does just make sure he's able to escort Caps towards his inner turret. He does use the flash. They were waiting for that one, as he now just takes more turret shots than he really wants. He'll take a bear to the face as well as the equalizer going to come on through. And Busio may just burn down. The last tick not going to quite be enough there with the Leandries that was just put together. Still, he is going to be able to make his way out. But Caps he had to use his flash, yes, but otherwise he's just fine.
The big story that we weren't watching was the fact that Masu, like I said, he had to walk away from the turret because he's like, well, I'm not going to die. But he did just walk away from the turret and give up several waves and then also lose his turret and couldn't farm the entire time. Yeah, so the Jin really didn't like how all of that went to pass, unfortunately. As this gold lead here for Hansama is the biggest in the game by far at nearly 2,000 at this point. And the Xayah is ready to team fight.
Yeah, and I think I'm ready to get back on my original opinion of Jin, which was that I just didn't like him very much. I gave him a bit of a pass for MSI because he offered a fair bit of utility, right? If you add a lot of extra carries to the rest of the map, you do need your AD carry to take a bit of a back seat. Not in this game. I don't think this is the game where Masu wanted to be on something like the Jin.
I think the Jin is an issue when the rest of the map is starting to fall apart and you're kind of left on the wayside by yourself.
You're right.
And I do think that when we come to team fights later on, because he's so far behind, he will look useless unless things change in a big way. I mean, because he's massively behind right now. It's going to be tough for Masu to kind of prove my point about the range and the way this team fight composition can work. But right now, if you're a Jin anti, you're feeling pretty good because it just isn't looking like with this game state he's going to be able to do a whole lot. The lead here for Caps is pretty significant as well. And so getting to that game state for FlyQuest, the late game where they can come back into this one, it feels so far away. It feels unfathomable to imagine, you know, a 35-minute game state where suddenly Quad is really hitting and they can fight the way they want around those big curtain calls from Masu and Inspired is setting up big ultimates. There's a few opportunities here in this mid-game, like, for example, the Herald that's spawning here for a big team fight win before things get too out of hand. But the window is certainly closing as G2, once again, pulling into a significant lead now, nearly 2,000.
Well, Inspired is just going to be parked here in this brush. Labrov going to try and stop Busio from getting in, but he still finds a two-man Pulverize. Flash out comes on through his Caps. Is going to have to get rid of that CC. Was that Labrov that just like with an insta McHale's? That was kind of sick, to be perfectly honest. Still, that is a very dead Skumon.
I was a little bit concerned about the split of the CC there. You know, I thought, okay, just focus Skumon and you get him for sure, but they do ultimately get him down with that final shot there from Masu. And now Hansama is actually left out to dry here. TP coming through from Labrov. Can they save him?
He is going to get in there. There's the Feather Storm. Can Hansama find the angle? The 3-man knockup is going to be the best that they were hoping for. And now Caps turns up as well. Quad goes down early as the curtains have been called. And Hansama gets himself out. Another hero play. Labrov has just really turned it around here in this one.
Unsealed teleport to then slow down the play. Blocks the shot. Now going to help get the knockup here. And Busio is certainly dead.
Oh dear, yeah. Caps wants to get that auto. Actually finds the Incinerate over the wall. And down goes the cow. And G2 back on the horse once again. Or the cow or whatever animal. There's a lot of animals, to be perfectly honest. It's like a whole bunch of animals in a gin on the side of Fly.
I mean, Broken Blade is going to get a ton of damage done to this turret as well as he crashes 2 waves into it. It's a long way for Quad to get back over to this top lane. Doesn't have teleport. He might actually just get the whole thing, frankly. As you go back to this play, this was from a while ago where Inspired was hiding here. They do end up getting the root here onto Skumon. And then the ult here from Inspired actually goes on to Caps as they get a little bit greedy, hoping they could get both, and that's what I was concerned about, but Masu gets that final shot there. The 4th shot will be enough damage, so they still end up getting him. This is a heroic play from Labrov. So unsealed teleport here. The ult from Hansama buys enough time. He gets knocked up. It gets the charm here to allow Hansama to get there. Triple knockup, and then blocks the shots here coming through Masu as he opens up the curtain call. Look at this. Flashes to avoid the first one, then charges in with a knockup attempt here to stop Hansama from getting hit by that extra one there. Guy is just playing supportive for his AD carry.
Yeah, that was a cue the Celine Dion in that moment. It was absolutely beautiful. And this time, not actually needing to sacrifice himself. So really nicely done there from the G2 support. And as we can see, the result is a 1.4k gold lead for Hansama on this Xayah. And I'm looking at it and I'm feeling like the amount of late game damage potential out of this Xayah is going to be absolutely obscene. And what it means on top of everything else is the fact that you can eliminate these neutral objectives so incredibly quickly. And that's where things get really scary here for FlyQuest. Now, they're going to have to really be on top of the vision.
This dragon here, it's the first Ocean dragon of the game, as we have Ocean Soul here, is completely under the control of G2. And this is where things get a little bit tricky for FlyQuest, because they want to sit back and scale. They want to just say, Quad could TP in, but maybe we just leave him on the side instead. They need to use this dragon wisely. And I think trying to force a fight here is probably not going to be it. Trying to get that top inner, though, could be a good thing if they can slow this down.
Labrov's on vision, but he's able to grand exit out of this one. Deadly Flourish, not going to be enough to hold him in position, and that is just going to be a little bit of an attempt, but nothing really committed as, oh dear. The flash over the wall is gorgeous from Broken Blade, and he'll just burn the pigeon to a crisp.
So they wanted to, as I said, just let Quad hit that inner, but because Broken Blade doesn't have TP, but he's like, oh, if you're going to stay, I'll stay. We already have Dragon Prio, and I'm pretty big. I will just kill you. All he has to do is flash the Emperor's Divide, and he does. And down goes the Azir, and they get nothing. He may lose his life, though.
Yeah, this might be something. They can actually manage to get the kill. The answer is pretty good, though. On the other side, Inspired actually takes a lot of damage. But they'll take down the outer turret, and they're going to look for the inner at the same time as Skumon trying to get himself back in, actually, with that Vault Breaker, and they'll just finish this off. So 2 turrets in trade for a Rumble.
And a kill on a Sejuani. So, I don't really feel like... I mean, it's not a bad play to kill Broken Blade there, but it just doesn't feel like it's worth. But that was the only play they could make, and they were at least able to get that much, but
the answer was too good.
It just doesn't change the state of the game. In fact, the state of the game continues to be further and further in G2's favor. And, you know, where do you go from here? You had that one chance to use the dragon to try to get the inner. And going to that moment here, this is Broken Blade who's just like, well, I was going to come over, but I guess if you're going to stay, I don't have TP. Drops Equalizer on him, has his heat charged here for the full maxed out Q damage, and then flashes the Emperor's Divide and gets him during the silence there with a few autos and cooks him. So Quad gets taken out. He wants so desperately to be that late game damage threat for this team. I think it was the right call, but he gets outplayed.
Yeah, he did. And his flash is still up and available. Thought the Emperor's Divide was going to be enough, but as soon as that flash happens from Broken Blade, you're never actually going to be able to do enough. And you're not going to be able to outrun him. And so the man with the double masks is going to be able to take him down. 2-3-2 now on this Rumble, but as soon as the second item comes on in, this is going to be a very, very scary Yordle up there towards the top side of the map as Caps going to be clearing out this wave. Whippo lying in wait, not wanting to give away his position too early, and is eventually just going to catch that wave and throw it back towards G2. Headbutt pole going to come through once again. Deadly Flourish as the follow-up, and Labrov almost loses a health.
Broken Blade this time might actually die to a champion that wants money.
Yeah, perhaps. Skewmon going to come down, but Broken Blade is in a lot of trouble. He does get pushed back kind of a way that he wants to, but Masu was there as well. There was no way out here, and I'll make that one a 2-4-2.
Yeah, Broken Blade has been playing a little bit fast and loose on the sides without enough vision to support that. And
would you call it a side lane, or would you call it like, it's like almost FlyQuest base?
Yeah.
It kind of was there. But still, putting on a lot of pressure.
I mean, these are the types of ways. I mean, it's going to take like 3 or 4 more plays like that for FlyQuest to get back in this game, but that is exactly what you want. As Skewmon's here, Bwipo needs to get out of dodge. Does have his Q charging, has ultimate. They're not going to commit any further, but the amount of time that Quad has been able to, despite the deficit here, despite him being 1-3 in this game, sit in the side, is really the only thing that's giving you any hope if you're FlyQuest. Like, trying to contest this certainly is an opportunity they're going to look for.
Well, about half health on this Otacon for now, as they are looking to just try and get that turn. The Unbreakable Will comes through from Busio. That's going to keep him alive, and there is the smite. It's good on the side of Skewmon, and he's able to lock that one up, and now the curtains have been called. We're going to need to find some of these bullets as Labrov allows Hans Sama to take that last one, and Quad looks for the angle but doesn't quite get it. It's a little bit of a shot from the Sand Soldier, and then a nice invisible Deadly Flourish to try and lock down on Sama, but it's not enough.
Even if he has ult there, because he used it obviously in that last play bottom side, it's just now coming up, but even if he has ult, tries to flash for it, Hans Sama could just ult him and just be like, all right, I'm chilling, nice try. Desperate plays, desperate times call for desperate measures, but I do wonder if perhaps if they had just kind of slow played and contested and let Quad sit in that bottom lane and maybe take out an inner, if that would have been the better play, but he TPs in and they're unsuccessful. And I get it, he was burned by sitting in the side lane top side last time by Broken Blade.
Yep.
This time he's like, well, I'm just going to TP in and look for it, but fortunately not able to get anything. A big Otacon play for the side of G2.
He isn't engaged onto Busio, doesn't quite have his ultimate back up again. There's the knock up from Labrov as well, as they found Masu, and he is just dead. And now a teleport comes in from Bwipo that's a little bit inopportune. And now Inspired going to have to get himself out of there. There is a blast going to allow Bwipo to escape, but Inspired may not be so lucky. Him and Bristle are able to escape though, and G2 unable to get their fangs into anyone other than this Jin. Okay, never mind. Maybe they've found Bwipo.
I think Busio should.
Coming on through.
Yeah, Busio should be able to protect him here. It's going to be tough. Cap's got stun prep.
He does. Skewmon coming on through there as they do manage to get the stun. That is the Unbreakable Will back off cooldown now, though, as they look for a bit of a dive. This might be a little bit aggressive as the knockup does come on through. As Broken Blade tanking this turret for as long as he can. Not able to buy enough time, though, as they are looking to back away. As now Hans Sama a little bit alone there towards the top side, and the Jin has respawned. So they have to be a little careful. They will be able to back away.
There are going to be a lot of low health bars here, and I think that's what FlyQuest wanted to pounce on and pressure, but G2 are now grouped back up again, right? And I think that starting this Dragon is completely realistic. Even with Quad having Flash and ult up, just not going to be able to get in to look for a deny, and
Inspired nowhere in sight here as well. He does finish Hysterics, but he doesn't have teleport. He cannot join the fight, so that is going to be Soul Point picked up as another Mikhail is going to be utilized very nicely, as never mind, it's actually a cleanse. Still, Hans Sama at full health. The curtains have been called, and Caps takes a lot of damage from that one. The equalizer is good from Broken Blade, though, and Inspired, he agrees. It's going to give him a good old thumbs up for that one as they make their way out scot-free.
G2 don't have to use any ultimates outside of the equalizer there. They're just chilling. They know their limits so incredibly well. They know, okay, we can't fight here, let's back away. Okay, now we're grouped on Dragon. They can't do anything. Checkmate, we grab Dragon, we kite away. Thanks for the ult, Masu. Like, you're not going to be able to get anything from us here. And they know exactly how much they can walk that fine line of taking the Dragon and kiting away and not getting punished, even with the Azir having that ult up. So FlyQuest are keeping themselves alive in this one. It's just a 2,000 gold lead. You know, the lead has actually gone over in the mid lane to this Azir that spent so much time in sides.
Yep.
And he has to be the win con here. We've said this about Quad so many times, so much on Cassiopeia oftentimes in the past, but on this Azir, just like in the previous game they played earlier today, he has to be the win con. He has to be that supreme late game damage.
And on the other side, it's Hans Sama, right? And
yeah,
you mentioned
deathless.
A 2,000 gold lead. That is his gold lead against his opposition. And so it does feel a little bit like Quad versus Hans in this particular matchup, and they're the ones with all that consistent damage that's going to be offered.
Now, when we get to some of these later fights, right, for example, 3.5 minutes from now, when that soul spawns, the potential soul here for the side of G2, Baron spawning in just 10 seconds time, that range advantage will be significant despite a gold deficit. So you have to play these out clean as G2. So mistakes could cost you big, because even with the 2,200 gold lead here for Hans Sama, if you can't close the gap, you can't hit autos, it doesn't necessarily matter. And if they start to lose map control, as they are a little bit here in this mid lane, that's maybe an angle for FlyQuest to get back in. I feel like FlyQuest down, but certainly not out in this one. Now G2 have the group, they have a ton of vision removed here. That Scuttle Crab is about to fade as well. Threatening a potential Baron is very smart.
That's what they're going to look for. Whippo with a bit of a wrap around as they don't have a lot of information. There is the flash, the headbutt flash pole from Busio, but it doesn't quite get the angle that they're looking for. Skewmond is going to get Mikhails to get out of that CC. It's a big pulverize though. It's Busio going for it once again. They've managed to get the Featherstorm out of Hans. He's killable now as Inspired looks for an angle but doesn't quite get there as the Blade Caller was already in the air. They protect the President, but I don't know whether they're going to be able to hold on to control of the map, and Fly are looking for this Baron.
I think they have enough damage to start this up 100%. Going to get that teleport out of Labrov. He does have unsealed, so he can just get right back into the fight.
Yeah. Broken Blade could be in trouble as Whippo unable to get through the wall. That was a bit of a sad one. He has a Pengu ready, so once again, the emote game is good, but they're not going to be able to kill the Rumble.
Not confident enough with the teleport for Labrov. They know he has unsealed. And they're also a bit split, like you said, chasing there, looking for the kill onto Broken Blade, who lost his flash moments before, and they do end up losing control of this. Labrov, he is recon, so probably fine. Caps is just lurking, man. They're trying to bait so hard.
Yeah, he's like, Caps is like, I don't need a reset. I can't afford my next item. The Void Staff's not ready yet, so I'm just going to make sure that they're not going to get
Broken Blade again.
Baron.
But remember, Flashless, this guy's gotten caught so many times.
Well, I mean, there is a teleport from Quad, so he can actually be here. Emperor's Divide goes down as Inspired going to be a little bit late, but now without Emperor's Divide, the teleport is free.
He's going to match
Quad
it.
is going to have to try and follow him as they've started the Baron. It's down to 50%. Remember, Hans Sama's got 3 items. He does so much damage, and there is no Inspired to be seen. This Baron's free, and G2 are going to take that one down.
And Quad doesn't hold.
Yeah, he's going to get charmed up there momentarily. G2 now just trying to make their way out. The exit after the heist is often the most difficult, but it looks like they're going to be allowed to leave.
And finally, Broken Blade's side laning, the threat of trying to kill this guy ends up being a boon for the side of G2 as he escapes and they get Baron.
Oh dear, they're still going to look for another fight though, as we can see. The Equalizer goes down just to kill Whippo, who flashes to get a stun onto Caps, but it's not going to really do anything. The Unbreakable Will from Busio is going to keep him alive for the moment, and Quad is the one that they're scared of as Labrov gets interrupted as he tries to go for the engage, but Quad cannot really get there to get these auto attacks down, and they will be able to find Inspired, and down goes the Azir before he can do anything at all.
Hans
and
Sama.
G2 are just slaughtering this fight.
Look at his damage, 7,000. He does so much damage in this choke point, and Quad's trying to match him. He's trying to do the same, but it's just too little, too late. Hans Sama carrying this game on a Xayah pick I had doubts about, but he got an early lead, and he just will not be stopped. Fearless are G2 and Masu. Looks like he's going to be the last to fall in this exchange, but man, 7,000 damage. Tier 3 boots now in this Xayah's inventory. And I think FlyQuest were wise to try to take that fight in the choke point, but unfortunately, they just weren't able to do it. The wallets are heavy here on the side of G2. They will get the Ocean Soul. Is this moment for a second, you're like, ooh, they use a lot on Whippo, you know? Like, even the Equalizer is on a single target. It feels like maybe this is the angle here, and I think FlyQuest are feeling the same. Quad's in this position, the Tri-Brush, where he can do so much damage over the wall with the Jhin, but just watch Hans Sama. He's chilling, and as they decide, okay, the Jhin ult is gone, they go back in, Hans Sama's untouched. As we're going to jump out of the replay, he just sits there and does 7,000 damage for free.
It was absolutely ridiculous. And now he's going to do even more damage, as that's Inspired's health bar worth of damage there. Emperor's Divide going to get Quad out of dodge, or does it? As the cease and desist comes on through, they're looking to try and dive this one. Skewmon, I think, is dead. Yeah, he is. So maybe a little bit overexcited, but that is just jungler for jungler. G2 going to continue pushing forward with these minions that are all buffed up by the Baron.
Yeah, Whippo's going to try to trade this bounty inner turret for the inhibitor. I think this is a wise call coming home to defend. I think would have done very little. He does have TP. He's going to pick up a ton of money here and a lot for his squad with a bounty. So they get something back, but, I mean, G2 have all but broken the backs here.
Speaking of broken, is
broken
the blade towards the bottom side. He is able to run pretty quickly. Now it's a top lane battle as the ulti comes through from Bwipo. He's just trying to keep Broken Blade in position. The curtains are going to get called. One shot is actually going to connect here as Broken Blade is going to get cut down with that Cull the Meek. One shot gets another kill, or at least Quad does.
Yeah, one shot's enough to actually help secure that one. I mean, Quad, he is really hanging on in this game, isn't he? He's like, hey, give me any money. He's about to have his death cap. Doesn't quite have money.
There is a rapid fire cannon now on Masu. He's got 3 items.
Yeah, I mean,
there's 4 items on Hansama.
I do feel like if you're even vision, everything's set up on both sides, the range advantage is a problem for G2. And some of the over-aggressive plays, like what we saw from Skumon earlier, it can be a problem. But the big issue here is Hansama's damage. So if you can't kill this guy, and he just gets to auto, it doesn't matter how big your Azir is, because you'll never be as big as this Xayah right now. But this is a problem that Skumon goes too far forward here, does end up getting punished. Broken Blade gets TP'd on and dies, and this does really take a little bit of the wind out of the sails here for G2.
He's just going to do it again.
Like, bye.
It's the same play, and it works again. What the heck? That's not how it's supposed to go. The Unbreakable Will is going to break, and it's a double here for Hansama. Now the equalizer is going to have to be walked over here by Masu if he wants to get out. There's the cease and desist. The follow-up is not quite there, and Masu does have an inner turret, but actually never mind. The Vi is just enough to wipe out this Jhin, and Bwipo is once again on an island by himself, doing what he can to hold back the waves and waves of minions.
Yeah, I mean, this is significant because it means there's no way to threaten the end with 2 down here, 3 down rather, I should say, for FlyQuest. He may get punished here. Doesn't quite have his flash back up. The blast cone is denied. He should die. Yeah. This does buy a significant amount of time here for the rest of the team to respawn.
That was something.
Yeah. But I mean, this is like the meat grinder that is Hansama. Sejuani can't be an auto attack range of this champion.
It was the same play.
Alistair can't be an auto attack range of this champion. He is actually like, he's more than a fountain laser. I don't know what that is. But
fountain lasers are jealous of this Xayah right now.
If there were like 3 fountains next to each other and you walked into all 3 of them, they all overlap. That's what Hansama is doing in this game.
It's like you're playing the easiest levels of a tower defense, you know, and it's like the first wave. It's looking dangerous. As Quad also just going to get jumped on here by Skumon, who doesn't quite have the same answers as the rest of his teammates with his flash on cooldown. Did have the ulti, but isn't actually going to employ it. I mean, this doesn't have the ult now.
This is significant because they have the mid push here with the super minions, and now Quad doesn't have ult for a potential Baron take. Baron's up in 30 seconds. I think G2 could just do their due diligence here, put some deep vision up, and look to start this Baron up with a nearly full build Xayah. They just auto it down so quickly and just sit there and go, well, you don't have engage. You don't have a great way to stop this. Yep. Good luck. And I mean, for FlyQuest, how do you respond here? Without that ultimate from Quad, you kind of just have to deal with the mid push and then just go, well, can we defend the Baron? Because trying to fight this, I feel like, is never going to happen. It's a dream within a dream. It's Inception.
Yeah, and they're going really like deep into the dream state as well. There's the flash forward from Labrov. He's collecting all of them with the charm and the flash away from Master, but he's still on top of the equalizer, so there is just nowhere good to go. Finally, a grand entrance is going to miss, but Inspired is not going to be in the same situation. He does have to flash, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. His Caps is going to follow him, finds a Pyroblast, and that's going to finish him off. Fusio now just going to get thrown around like a rag cow. And Hansama is very legendary in this game. The Empress Divide is back up again. Skumon is going to go down to his GA, but G2, man, we were asking the question about revenge. This was absolute obliteration here in EWC, and they'll be moving on to the knockout stage.
All smiles as well, and we saw that shot of Hansama deleting the Sejuani, the Alistair, and just grinning.